Hey there, welcome back. Today we're going to take a twist out of a timber. You guys have been asking for it. I know that we did a video on planing and you found it, hopefully you guys found it all pretty interesting and helpful. So here we go. This is a video on how to take a twist out of a timber. So we'll just start off with the tools first of all. You're going to need a square, a good square. Obviously, good square, it's a good square. Level, some shims, wire brush for cleaning your timber, and the planer, 12-inch planer, because that's what's going to take. That's what's going to take the twist out of here. So typically you can do this with square rule layout. You don't even have to mess around with straightening it, but this is just another way you can attack a piece of wood if you have the right equipment and get it to where you want it and take the twist out and make it perfectly square and straight. So yeah, let's get started. So let me explain a little bit on how a twist happens if you don't know. So what happens with the timber is that this has got heart center on it. So this is the heart in here, and what happens is when you have heart, it's called heart center wood, where the heart is going through the wood. You have a tendency for the tree to, when it dries, it could twist on you because there's a lot of tension within that heart. Now, if you got straight grain, it's more likely not to twist as it dries, but this is what happens. You can see the grain lines, the check lines coming down on the angle, and that means it has a bit of spiral in it, and that's called spiral grain, and it's typical with a lot of trees. Sometimes they're more severe. You get more of a spiral grain. Sometimes it gets so spiral grain that it gets out of grade and you can't even use the wood because it's a bad, really low grade and it's not structural anymore. However, this isn't too bad. This is a bit of a spiral grain, so that's pretty much what happens. It dries, and as it dries, it twists. So first thing we're going to do is figure out the center point. That's what I want to know, because from that center point, where the twist kind of, the center point of where the twist happens and works out, that's going to be my starting point. So I'm going to get my shims here, block the one side, just the way it sits, how it's kind of evenly sitting. I'm just going to kind of work with that first. And shim that so it's kind of sitting nice and flat. And then what I'll do, I'll just get a measurement here. Got 12 feet, so I'm going to go about 6 feet. In theory, twist usually happens evenly, so the middle should normally be good to go. Now, if I look here on my level, it's perfectly level right there, or sorry, plumb right there. Or sorry, level, it's level, not plumb. Anyhow, now what I'll do is I'm going to go to the ends. And like I showed you before on the other video, I'm going to make an indication there on where the bubble sits. And basically on each end, the bubble is the opposite. Another way to double check this is with your square. Okay, that's 3/8. Center. So indicate your center point. So you have that, and now we know that this piece is shimmed evenly, so it's good to go on that end. So another thing, what I'll do here is just to get a bit of a reference point. I'm going to draw a little indicator line on each end. Okay, so we have got the timber set up and we kind of know what's going on here. We know that there's a 3/8 twist pretty much throughout the whole timber. There's not really too much more messing around. We have the timber set up, ready to go. We have our center line. That center line is important because this is where the planer is going to start. And this is where we're going to start passing. So the whole concept here is starting from the center point where it's perfectly level to working our way out with the planer this way. Once we get this worked out this way, riding the plane, then we're going to start riding the plane back that way. But first and foremost, we're going to start with this plane here. Now, the concept with this is working the plane of the flattest part of the timber. Now, working this plane now, as I start planing, I'm going to start increasing depth. And what that's going to do is, what we're doing is working that plane and eventually tapering and working that taper. Because what's going to naturally happen is that it's going to start tapering off because the piece is twisted, right? So we're going to keep tapering off. The trick with this is to plane it to the point where right before it's going to want to tip, and then come back and keep working that plane, keep working the plane. So if you've done any kind of woodworking, you know how to work a plane, and that's similar to what we're going to try and do here. So I'm going to put my ears and eyes on and we're going to get fired up. So basically I've just done the first couple passes here, and you know, I'm keeping pressure on the back side, or sorry, on the back of the planer, and that's helping me ride it out a little bit. You can see how it's tapering here. This is the high point, this is the low point. As I'm moving into the timber and getting into this kind of plane here, I'm increasing the depth of the planer, which is helping me kind of maximize or dig in to this access, with still allowing this plane to be kind of generated here. So I'm going to keep moving through here and go back to the center point just to get a nice plane here. Okay, that worked out pretty good. So we're pretty good to go. I'm going to give it one more pass. It's good all the way till about here, and then it still has a little bit meat here. So I'm going to give it one more, ride the plane one more time, and continue. One thing you noticed I was doing is I was feathering in the depth, feathering it out, feathering out, feathering it out. You want to keep that consistent, because you don't want to be taking too much meat off in one area, and then, you know, so because you'll start to create a wave, and you don't want that. So you just want to ride the plane and just kind of keep dipping in and dipping in. So I'm going to do one more pass, and that should be good for this side anyways. Okay, we just planed out this one side, and it's good to go. It's perfect. So again, I just started on this flat, most level part, and then just started working the plane, and it's great. It's good to go. So now what I'm going to do is Since I've got a gantry, I'm just gonna spin the timber and work this side. But otherwise I would just come out of the other side and start working here. So just gonna do a bit of a spinaroo. At this point, the shims are not really doing a heck of a lot, just stabilizing the piece because we already know what's going on with the leveling and everything. So, and we already have our level lines drawn on the sides. So, pretty much we're just going to repeat. We're just going to repeat what we just did here on this side. So that's pretty much it. Now, we've got this planed out, we've taken the twist out, gone. This is flat, ready to go. Now, obviously repeat on the four other sides. You can repeat it all the way around. Same technique, you'll get that figured. One thing that does happen sometimes is you do create a bit of a crown because you're kind of digging in. It doesn't happen all the time, but the more extreme, like the more extreme the twist, the more you may develop this bit of a crown where it's going to take off more on each end. If that does happen, then you either can fix it with your layout with square rule, or you then can do an overall pass. And if you can refer to my old video, my planing video, you can see that basically you can taper through and strap a line, or string a line, sorry, and get it nice and straight that way. Now, is it necessary to take a twist out of a timber? It depends on what you're doing. Like, I like to do this on timbers that are on the exterior of your timber frame, so you create a nice square iris, and if you're, you know, even to get a top and a bottom, sorry, a top and a side done, that's nice, and then everything else is kind of hidden within the building. But if you want to create a nice plane on the outside of your timber frame building, which I like to do, so the panels and everything else that get built to the outside of this is nice and, you know, nice and skookum for anyone else to come behind you, or if you have to do it yourself. It creates a nice square, working, you know, flat edge for you. Anyhow, that's pretty much it. You just repeat. Basically, at this point, you know, you can size and do whatever you want to do. If you want more information on that, you can go back to my video I made on squaring a timber with the planer. It will kind of get a little more into the basics on how to get that going. But otherwise, I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I hope this helps you out. Take care. Till next time.